College of Nursing here at St. Petersburg College. I do see a few faces that I didn't recognize, so I thought I would be sure to introduce myself. Thank you for this opportunity this afternoon to present to you about our request for the College of Nursing. I'm going to give you a few sound bites about nursing I know everyone in this room values our program and values nursing. Nursing is the most trusted position. Repeated polls show that nurses are the most trusted professions of all the professions. In 2011, policemen and firefighters rose to the top, but since then we are back on top. Everyone Needs a Nurse is one of the national campaigns, and I certainly personally believe everyone in the Tampa Bay area deserves a St. Pete College educated nurse. My mother was recently a patient at St. Anthony's Hospital, and I can vouch for the expertise of our graduates. Student success is what we're all about in the College of Nursing, and the position that we're requesting is a coordinator for practicum and clinical placement. And there has really been some challenges in that arena, and I'm going to give you just a little bit of historical background on the state of Florida about nursing. I'm sure you're all well aware that there is a nursing shortage. It has been slightly overshadowed by the economic situation. A lot of hospitals and other healthcare agencies have cut back on new employment of nurses, and so it makes it look like perhaps there isn't a nursing shortage. But if you look at the data from the Florida Center for Nursing for the state of Florida, there's clearly a nursing shortage. There's going to be a continuing nursing shortage as the primary number of nurses that are in our state are baby boomers, and as they move towards retirement, the shortage is going to become critical. St. Pete College was on the forefront of realizing that, and we have formed partnerships with our clinical agencies. Bay Pines Hospital, Health HCA, and Baycare is one of our biggest partners, and you saw in the news recently that Baycare is enlarging as well. The board of, everyone wants to be a nurse these days or some type of healthcare provider. There have been a lot of issues in Florida that there wasn't enough access to healthcare education, particularly nursing. So 2 years ago, the legislative body in our state realized that perhaps we weren't open enough with allowing nursing programs in the state. So House Bill 1209 was passed, which decreased the ability of the Florida Board of Nursing to oversee the new nursing programs in the state. So we've had an amazing proliferation. Last year alone, there were 20 new nursing programs in a state that already has close to 200 nursing programs. So with the increased number of programs, there's also increasing numbers of students. And those increasing numbers of students need both faculty, a number one reason for not enough nurses to be educated because there's not enough nursing faculty. But really the number one reason that we cannot increase our capacity any further is clinical placement. That has been an amazing challenge, and I do have some numbers for you to tell you about what, in just a minute, I'll give you the numbers that we're talking about. The other big issue in nursing is accreditation, and many of these new programs that have proliferated are not accredited by either the National League for Nursing Accrediting Commission, which is the accrediting body for our associate degree program, or CCNE, which is the Commission on Collegiate Nursing Education. Many of these programs are not accredited by either of those bodies or not accredited at all. We have accrediting standards that we have to support, and those two accrediting bodies have increased the standards that we are expected to conform to. They are now considering clinical nurses and preceptors that help our students have to be treated in the same way we treat our faculty. So we need to know the credentials of each nurse that is assisting each one of our students as they practice in the clinical facilities. Also, the agencies that our students go to have not increased the number of units, the number of patients, because they're facing these hard economic times. So we have increasing numbers of programs, increasing numbers of students, increasing demand for clinical space that is just not there. So planning and coordinating all this is a major challenge. On top of that, the agencies that we utilize for clinical are facing all kinds of additional regulation themselves. Each of our students has a background check on admission. We also track their vaccination records. We look at any drug screening that's needed. But now some of these agencies are requesting that it be monitored every single semester. So a background check on admission is no longer going to be enough. They're going to have a background check every semester. And we're looking at what kind of tracking nightmare that is, not only for the agencies, but also for us. We also have to verify to each clinical agency exactly what are the objectives for these particular students, this particular clinical rotation. And it's not a matter of placing a student in a particular hospital and they just stay in that one spot for the entire semester. They rotate. When they do OB, they only can be on OB, which is obstetrics, for a very limited period of time, usually a matter of days, maybe 4 days, maybe 6 days, maybe a maximum of 10 days. The same thing is true at All Children's. Our All Children's Hospital is not only used by us and the other 19 schools in the Tampa Bay area, it is used by schools in the entire state of Florida, and also Alabama, Georgia, and other places utilize those facilities as well. So we have all of that compounding the number of students that we have in our two programs. We have an associate degree program that has 656 students right now. We have an RN to BSN program that has 762 students. Well, those numbers taken by themselves are not too much until you start looking at the fact that we have 153 sections of students that are going to 16 different clinical agencies in our area. We have then the baccalaureate students, those 762 that go to there's a number of sections that they go to practicums. 920 students this year alone will be placed in clinical practicums for the RN to BSN program. And so those are individual programs because those students are all over the country. So what we're actually begging for, and I'll go back to my colleague who's saying, I'm not too proud to beg, we are begging for a coordinator for these clinical placements and clinical practicums. We feel this individual hopefully will walk on water and be able to not only manage all the clinical placements, but also track all the students, because we've had situations where a hospital will call or a faculty will call or a nurse manager will call and say, there are students here on this unit today from 3 different programs. Who's supposed to be here? We've had a real power position. Jan Whitman, one of our program directors, and Gail Burt, we've had the master rotation, which is we coordinate at St. Petersburg College. We coordinate all of these placements. And when we were small and everyone else was small and there were fewer schools, we could do that by ourselves, just with the staff we have. Well, now we're huge, everyone else is huge, and there's a zillion players, so we need somebody to really help us coordinate this. So students are successful. I don't know the time thing, so I'm over. Oop, time. Anyway, we really need your help. We want to stay in the national forefront. We're in the IOM report. Please give us this position. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm real pleased to have an opportunity to represent Natural Sciences here today. I'm John Vaughn, the Dean of Natural Sciences, and I have 5 items on my list, and I have a couple of main themes that are associated with this. And one of those is to address consistency among campuses in what we're doing in the natural sciences and the support services that we're providing for our faculty as well as our students. And what I would like to start off with is just to let you know that we've had about 14% increase in enrollment in the sciences college-wide every semester for about 2 years, plus or minus a 0.5% from one semester to the next. So we've really been having a large increase in enrollment. So the first item that I have on my list that I'd like to address is to request an academic chair for natural sciences at the Tarpon Springs campus. We've had the good fortune to have an outstanding program director there who's overseen both math and natural sciences for a substantial period of time, but we've had increase in enrollment there, and particularly one thing that I want to focus on for a number of these items today relates to the labs. We've had an increase in the last 5 years from 69 to 127 lab sections that are offered. I want to be really clear that one of the large tasks in the natural sciences is the oversight of those labs. Lots of issues with respect to biohazardous waste, with respect to hazardous chemicals that are being handled. But in addition, obviously, the labs themselves require a lot of additional attention, and we have a pretty large number of labs college-wide. We have on the order of about 32 natural science labs college-wide. There's only about 5 or 6, depending on how you want to count them, at the Tarpon Springs campus at present, and that requires a lot of turnover when you're teaching a lot of sections. So with respect to this academic chair position that we're hoping to receive, we really feel like we need to have that oversight from an academic chair, and again, with the intent that it's going to help to provide some consistency relative to what we have at the other campuses. We have, at this point, within the general education areas at least, only 2 remaining program directors, and I think it will really benefit us to have that level of oversight for the natural sciences at Tarpon Springs campus. We approximated at about $93,000, $94,000 the amount that it would cost to hire an academic chair at the Tarpon Springs campus, but we would have the advantage of, if we can hire an existing faculty member, to have a much smaller increase in the cost, and that they could teach, at least at present, 24 ECH, and not that much less than what the faculty are, and therefore add relatively little to the overall cost. And if I can ask Dr. Linda Gingrich to come up for just a moment, she can help to support me on the next item on the list, which is a request for the upper division biology programs to have some increased instructional assistants as well as student assistants to be hired in that area. Thanks for joining me. We've had a huge increase. The upper division biology program, as many of you are aware, started just last January, and we had about 36 students that were originally admitted to the program, and as of this January, 1 year later, we're already over 220 students that have been admitted to the program. So very large increase in the number of students. Obviously, that's increasing our need for lab support as well as support for our students in that program. We went from a total of 9 lab sections to what we project for next year as 28 lab sections just in that program alone. So one of the things that we want to do to make sure that we provide good, consistent support for the students that are in that program is to provide an increase in our offering of recitation sections so that there's some group tutoring, if you will, for the students that are in the program, as well as some other individual tutoring that would not necessarily have to take away from faculty time, since we at present have one combination academic chair and faculty member. We're hoping that we will be having one additional faculty member next year that's full-time, but we certainly could use that additional support for our students. In addition, in association with the great increase in lab sections, we have at present a half-time science technician, but we also need to have some additional support for from student assistants to do some of the routine lab support items. And Dr. Gingrich, if you'd like to say anything to add to that?
Well, as Dr. Vaughn just said, we only have one half-time person, really. She's both a counselor and advisor, as well as setting up the labs. And we only have 2 labs, and so we're getting into an area where we're going to have to do a lot of setup and takedown very, very quickly to be able to accommodate the extra sections that we see coming. And so we want some student workers to be able to help that. The other thing is we don't have graduates out there yet. We want to make sure that when we get those graduates out there that they come out with the reputation we want them to have with SPC behind them, and that's where the tutoring comes in. We want to make sure we bring them to the baccalaureate level as high as we possibly can.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item, at the St. Pete Gibbs campus, we have had a large support for both microbiology and anatomy and physiology needed. We have a large number of sections. As with Gene Wartok, we certainly value nursing. We provide a number of support courses that are very important, microbiology and anatomy physiology, both being courses that support that. We offer a large number of sections of both of those. For the microbiology course in particular, we have a tremendous need for assistance in the lab in terms of growing cultures of organisms, maintaining those cultures in a fashion where they're not contaminated, and we feel like it's very important for us to have someone that can provide some of that consistent support in that area, and therefore we're asking for a 30-hour OPS position that would be an instructional assistant 1 level of support that would primarily be involved with the microbiology lab, but would also be involved in some lab assistance in the anatomy and physiology labs. Again, we have 2 separate labs down there for each of the anatomy and physiology courses, in addition to the micro lab, and they require a tremendous amount of assistance. About half of all the labs that are physically available at the college are at the St. Pete Gibbs campus or the downtown campus, all of which are supported out of the same site right now. And therefore, we really need this additional assistance in addition to the 1 science technician that we have full-time there. Speaking of lab support at downtown, we also are making a request for a 15-hour OPS position as, again, an instructional assistant 1 level, and 2 15-hour student assistants for lab support at the downtown campus. We're very fortunate to have a new chemistry lab that is scheduled to be coming on board for fall term of next term, and so we're going to have greatly increased need for lab support at that site. The student assistants are something that Yvonne and I have been talking about for a while, and we certainly are past needing student assistants there, and so the 2 student assistants as well as the 15-hour OPS position should help to provide very good support for, again, the new chemistry lab and for the anatomy and physiology labs that are currently offered at that site. And then finally, but certainly not least, we also are looking for some additional lab support at the Seminole campus. Seminole has, unfortunately, only 2 labs, but fortunately has plans for renovation of those 2 labs this summer, so they will be up to a much higher level of being able to offer labs effectively. In spite of that, we have not had a science technician on that site, and so what we're asking for in this case is a 30-hour OPS position to provide lab assistance as well as some tutoring as possible, to provide assistance in the lab to help to provide some coordination of the student assistant that would be at that site that is assisting in the laboratories, and we also are asking for another 15-hour student assistant position at that site as well. Again, we've had a very large increase in enrollment at the Seminole campus. The number of sections that we're offering is pretty much up to the capacity of the 2 labs that we have existing, and we've been working actively to develop some alternative strategies to offer some labs in lecture classrooms as possible. And particularly, we're hoping to do that in physics over the coming year. And even though it sounds like, because there's only 2 labs currently at Seminole, that seems like there would be less work for that person to do. The reality is there's much more juggling required to be able to change from teaching 1 lab to a different lab course in the same rooms. And when that's the case, it means a lot of extra work. And again, that feeds back to some of the efforts at Tarpon Springs as well, because of the relatively small number of labs there. That's all I have. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to address them. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Steele, and I'm pleased to represent the Fine Arts and Humanities across the college. I have 5 proposals today, and they all relate to what Dr. Law spoke to us about last summer when he greeted us for the first time at Coliseum. And in that greeting, he shared with us that he wanted every student at St. Petersburg College to have a significant participation in the arts. All 5 of these relate to that initiative. The arts will not save the world, but the creativity that's fostered in the arts, I believe, is transferable across the curriculum. The first proposal is for a theater department operating budget. We request beginning operating budget for the entire theater program, which will start in the fall of 2011. We are nearing conclusion of the search process and will soon have a new faculty member. And we have approved curricula for 13 new courses, including Intro to Theater Arts, which is already being taught this semester at Seminole and Clearwater campus. To represent some of the need that we know in Pinellas County for a theater program, one large evidence, other than just our knowledge of theater programs where maybe we've had children in schools and have attended their programs, and we know they're there. But one tangible evidence is each year, we host the District 4 Pinellas County Public and Private High School Theater one-act competition. And last December, we had 21 troops participate, and there were 726 students registered, and there were also chaperones and observers, total of 935 people for that two-day event at Clearwater campus. Those are all potential theater students, and that doesn't even represent the whole group of them. So our request is for an operating budget of $32,100, and that includes $6,000 for student scholarships, $1,500 for office supplies, $600 for copying, $1,000 for reference materials, $800 for workshops, $1,000 for travel for SPD travel for the participants and for student travel as well, $400 for professional fees, a theater workshop at $1,200 per semester, and main stage production at $9,200 per semester, total of $32,100. Our next 4 proposals are for positions in support of the arts program. These 4 proposals have 2 main themes. I call it a 1-2 punch. One is access to labs and equipment, and the second is access to labs and equipment which is actually required for student learning. And the second is just good stewardship of our labs and equipment. The first is a photography lab assistant at Clearwater Fine Arts. A photography lab assistant is needed to provide cohesiveness throughout the week for both students and faculty. The photography program is dependent upon equipment, and student access is impossible without access. Student success is not possible without access to it. This requires a lab assistant to be accessible to students to check out equipment, fix problems that arise with a facility, maintain chemical supplies, allow access to studios. When a faculty member working with students is required to attend to a problem with equipment or a lab, student learning suffers. Students must have the necessary space to work on their projects, either the color lab, the studio lab, the digital lab, for a total of 72 hours per week. During class, when other students need to work in the lab and they're not assistants working, it presents a problem. There are gaps in the hours that student assistants can work, and these hours vary each semester. These students have their own work to do, and they tend to make that a priority over the facility if they're a student and they're a student worker. They sometimes, unfortunately, are undependable and show up late or miss otherwise skirt responsibilities or duty hours. There's typically a need to train them each semester, or at least each year. This affects all the students in the photography classes. Having consistency in the person who cares about the job and cares to assist the students would be more conducive to effective learning experiences. The position will directly affect 17 photography course sections planned for the coming fall, summer, and spring semesters, with an expected enrollment of more than 300 in those classes. Daytona State College and UCF photography programs have recommended this position, a full-time position. The Advisory Committee for Photography Technology has also recommended a full-time assistant position to assist the faculty. We feel in our current economic climate, we are not requesting full-time, but a 25-hour OPS, which would be the minimum need to fill the need we have currently. And we respectfully request leadership to approve this important position. The next position is Visual Arts Lab Assistant and for Clearwater Fine Arts. We're requesting a differential between our current OPS 25-hour position to increase that to full-time for some reasons which I'll share. It's because of the integral nature of this position to the full operation of the learning environment for the students in the visual arts program. During this past summer, fall and spring, we've had 628 students in 45 sections of visual arts, just the ART, not including art history. All of them need access to labs. Every one of those need access to labs before, during, and after class. And a board rule doesn't allow a student to be in a room without proper supervision. So this is a constant problem. From the security at Clearwater campus, from the provost office, it's a constant, it's a regular phone call I get. So it's a serious need there. This person would manage student assistance in all visual arts lab, organize materials and supplies required for running classes, order, store, and distribute all inventory, help students document artwork for certain classes in portfolios, help them put those together. Design 2, which is 3D. This person would orient students with a 3D shop for building frames, other project, maintain, supervise equipment, including large power tools, hand tools, and safety equipment. In ceramics, this person would maintain the pottery wheels, the kilns, the clay mixers, and assist students in mixing the clay and glazes, loading, firing, and unloading all 6 of our kilns. In printmaking, this person would mix and store and dispose chemicals, assist in making silkscreen frames, assist and supervise students in the printmaking lab when they are working outside of class time, and troubleshooting technical issues and maintain equipment in the printmaking lab, including a $7,000 press that's in there. Instructing students on technical issues not covered in the class, submitting and following process of work orders. Most importantly here at the end, maintain material safety data sheets. It's a MSDS, it's an acrostic, it's an acronym rather, for all labs in Florida Department of Environmental Protection compliance in all labs. That's a very important piece of this. Maintaining first aid kits with other personal protective equipment in the labs. Inventory, dispense, and dispose of all materials covered by FDEP, and assist with technical requirements of the gallery shows, including building the pedestals if needed, or other technical requirements for the shows in our Crossroads Gallery. Without this help, the instructors have to take time away from their teaching with the individual students, working with them, have to go away from them and help with these issues. And as I shared at the beginning, sometimes the labs are just, they're locked. They're just not open when students need them. The college would be also in a more vulnerable position without this because of the FDEP requirements. And I believe the person would earn their own salary because they would save the college potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. And we've heard of this last year, another college being fined $300,000 for hazmat violations. And we have the hazardous materials as part of the program that need to be handled. So for those reasons, we request this be a full-time, someone who is a part of the college family because of the critical nature of those areas. And again, it would be just that differential requesting from OPS to full-time. You know, this past week, we heard of the tragic actions of a 16-year-old Gibbs High School student. that devastated 2 families and impacted thousands. Now, not to oversell this, okay, but I have to wonder in myself if that young man had the opportunity to blend some of his personal, innate skills and interests that he had with perhaps some training in technology and entrepreneurship, and see a pathway to that's something I could do to make a career for myself all by myself. Would that have made a difference? That's all I'm asking. I think possibly it might. And Gibbs is one of our partner schools. All these programs, especially the AS workforce and the arts programs, what a unique thing to have workforce in the arts. Well, we have it here. We see possibilities in line with that, and we really do believe it. Again, it's not going to save the world, but it's a very important positive influence and tangible impact that we can have. And all 4 of these positions help to foster that. We talk about access to significant arts participation for all students. I want to tell you right now, our arts majors do not have full access to labs as they currently need just for their basic requirements because of these limitations. They have access, they do. They just don't have full access. Saturdays, evenings, other times when I got to finish my project, I can't get in the lab. This next position is the MIRA Technical Support Specialist. The MIRA program currently has 273 students enrolled from a starting point of just 2.5 years ago to more than, like I said, 273 today. Every week we have 4 to 5 requests during the slow periods, like now, and then when registration opens, it goes to 15, 20 per week requests, and we have tours every Friday for this program, every Friday throughout the year. I believe it's one of the most, if not the most sought-after program that has an interest currently at the college. All the students and potential students are affected positively by this request. Qualified technical assistance is needed to maintain the computers and software in the labs for MIRA program during the student use of the labs. This will serve in-depth application-specific tasks, particular and unique to the MIRA program. It will promote efficient use of the labs and equipment by students and faculty. Now, while the campus TRS staff are skilled and quite capable to handle the general campus needs and office needs in computing, the skills required for high-end music software and hardware support goes well beyond the scope of their work. It just does. And it's constantly changing, and it's specific and unique. The problems caused by the lack of this position include workstations being out of order, which disrupts student progress. Hands-on experience is crucial to student learning and success in the program. The skills learned are cumulative by nature. You have to learn and master one thing before you go to the next. Each skill is a prerequisite to the next. Success begets success, as the saying goes. Students must be able to work on skills each day. This requires effective, skilled, full-time lab supervision. When workstations are not completely down but have been given incomplete attention due to lack of time, proper debugging is not done, and a lot of time is wasted by students or faculty or other staff, student monitors trying to fix something while students are trying to learn. That goes without saying. It's self-evident what that could be. Having a qualified technician would cut down on lost class time due to computer hardware and software issues. Ample time would be available for some preventive debugging and maintenance. A specific skill set is required to keep each computer running in conjunction with the high-level music software installed, including all the specific hardware interfaces, which must work seamlessly together. And we are deeply grateful to the college leadership, both the academic side and the facility sides, for providing the infrastructure for this program, and it involves a lot of expensive equipment. A strong sense of stewardship and care compels us to request this position. The last position is digital arts in Seminole campus, and we have, with 287 students currently enrolled in digital arts. There's a serious need for a digital arts lab assistant. The checkout system currently being handled by the staff in the collaborative commons. Handling the advanced equipment is part of their job responsibilities or training. So this causes frustration for staff, instructors, students, leading to other problems, such as students being unprepared for class. All of the equipment checkout for digital arts is coordinated by the academic chair. It's one of the many hats he wears, including the check-in, the maintenance, checkout, and actually opening and closing the lab. He also stores the video game equipment in his office. So we're requesting someone to maintain the checkout system for all the video equipment for the classes, coordinate checkout policies, handle checkout when other trained staff are not available, inventory and assess the needs, supervise the labs, and oversee the functions of the 3 labs in TL 127, UP 312, and PB 603. And just in general coordinate the student assistants in their work. The academic chair shouldn't be checking out video equipment on a Friday evening because there's nobody there to do it. He's willing to do it, but this is just pulls away from his primary duty. And so we respectfully request this position as well. This is a 25-hour OPS position. Any questions? Thank you.
Certainly, I come before you today with only one request, but indeed a very important request. And so I'll ask the various levels to be with us today and representing the importance of that. I'll ask Earl Freitas to come and stand and represent our faculty on every level. And then, of course, I'll ask Joe Leopold to come and represent the academic chairs. And then I'll stand as a servant to represent the other part. That being the case, then we come to present this to you. First of all, this request is one that's going to support the strategic goal, learning support beyond the classroom. Please note that. It calls for the development of a Model UN program. Without question, knowing anything, it's a national program, and many of our institutions around the nation have this particular program. And this particular initiative will allow us to move forward in that regard equally as well. There are a number of community colleges, even in the state of Florida, that have got this proposal. And these supportive individuals here have had the chance to visit some of those and have given us a wonderful report on that. And so we're prepared to move forward if we get the support that we need to make this program a reality. We make note of some simple points. Okay, we know then that global responsibility and involvement, civic engagement have all become critical parts of the college's mission without question. We've looked in Dr. Law's plan. We know it's threaded throughout the 24/7, the word international, and the need to be more globally aware. And we're very sensitive to that, both at academic chairs, staff, and students alike. And therefore, appreciating that point, we note then that everything that's going on in the Middle East, you have got to be crazy, blind, or dead not to see some major things are occurring all around us. So we take the Middle East, we take Africa, we take South America, and we take all of those that are out there, and it's giving us a broad picture of the importance of your global involvement and appreciation of the global scheme of things. This then particular proposal will allow us then to move forward and allow our students then to become a part of that overall understanding. And so then, that being the case, we call then for a comprehensive Model UN United Nations program. Very simply put, the program will allow our students to be involved in classes that are UN-type classes. It will allow us then to also be involved in various activities and conferences that you're working to give us some strong information on as it stands at this point. And then we ask ourselves the question, what students will benefit from it? Real simple. As you examine it very carefully, we believe students on all campuses can benefit from it if they were to participate in the things that this Model UN initiative will in fact call for. So all of the campuses can potentially benefit from it. However, then Joe knows that we'll be asking then for the American government portion of our curriculum to play an aggressive role in making sure that students that are going through that piece will be involved with that, because all students in the AA program are required to take the American government piece. So we're very, very pleased along those lines, so all of our students will benefit. Very simply put, in the last few seconds that we have here, you asked then, okay, what then will be the outcomes? And the outcomes are very, very, very clear. We expect our students then to become incredibly knowledgeable of the role and the relevance of the UN. There's no question what's going on around the world today. That's going to become incredibly important, and even more so. In addition to that, our students will have the unusual ability to be able to participate in simulated UN sessions, if you will. All of them will have that particular opportunity to take place. And as it stands right now, if you support this proposal, they'll be able to participate with college students around the state, around the region, and around the nation, even so much so that they'll participate at the UN. As we take a look at it very carefully, and lastly, we say then we believe this type of involvement and activity can strengthen the ability of our students to be critical thinkers, to understand that we don't live in a vacuum. We've got to be involved in the global scheme of things. And in this particular case, be critical thinkers, good speakers and presenters as you deal with the world at hand. And then we say to you, we're simply requesting in this case $19,000 to put together the best UN program in the nation, barring none. We know then that Dr. Furlong is a strong supporter of this, and we have high regard for him, and he's pushed this very strongly, so we know we have his support. So, Mr. President, Mr. Chair, we appeal to you to support this program, and we can assure you it'll be the best one in the nation. Faculty will be involved, students will benefit from it, and it'll make our students some of the best to leave the AA and AS programs prepared to deal with the things that will be facing us in the world to come. We thank you for hearing us.
My name is Martha Campbell. I'm the communications dean for the college, and last August I began taking pipe organ lessons. What can I say? I have met my comeuppance. So every Tuesday on the St. Pete Gibbs campus, I am trying to get my feet to go in one direction, my hands to go in yet another, and to create something resembling music. There's a metaphor in there for deans as well, but I don't think I have to explain it. And so I have an all-new appreciation for what it's like for students who give such value to their creative work. And it was my own experience that led me to work over the last 6 months with faculty in thinking through some of the initiatives that we could put forward as a group to support student creative work. And it's with the collaboration of faculty that I offer these proposals to you today. The first and the highest priority is an online, interdisciplinary fine arts magazine. This magazine would showcase student creative work, including fiction, nonfiction, photography, and other visual arts, musical composition and performance, although not mine on the organ, I assure you, and dance performance. The intent is for the magazine online gallery to rotate its exhibits. All works in the magazine would be subject to student, faculty, and editorial review. The cost is approximately $20,000, assuming a college server would host the magazine. These costs would support an editor, a 20-hour-a-week OPS employee. The editor would organize the student submissions, maintain the site, work with the student, faculty, and peer review committees to maintain the artistic integrity of the magazine. SPC, as you know, has a rich history of publishing student creative work, in the past through such works as The Obelisk. This initiative would once again make available to students a publishing opportunity for their creative work. The second strategic initiative priority is a writer-in-residence program. This initiative would bring in a professional author for a week's residence in the fall and another week in the spring to work with creative writing students in workshops and to offer public readings. The cost would approximate $6,400, which would include travel, lodging, and honoraria. The goal, of course, is for the guest writer to spend 2 days North County, 2 days South County, and working with students and faculty. The opportunity is to create a college-wide opportunity for a writer-in-residence program that would also serve and interest those in our broader community. A third strategic initiative is the college-wide speech forensics team. For many years, through the hard work of students and faculty, SPC sponsored one of the best forensics teams in the Southeast region. I know because my daughter, who was then competing for TCC, was competing against St. Pete College. And it was my allegiances were torn at that point, as you can imagine. This initiative would start rebuilding that team. Initially, the initiative would propose 2 teams, a North County team and a South County team, that would hold mock competitions in preparation for forming a college-wide team in 2012-2013, assuming the students could use the college van for transportation. I'm smiling at Dr. Williams when I say this. The cost for the initial rebuilding phase would be $16,000 to cover the coaching supplement for a North County and a South County coach. A final initiative is an online, college-wide student newspaper. This newspaper would continue the tradition of the wooden horse in an online environment, which would showcase works from students in our journalism and mass communication classes. Assuming that a college server could host the newspaper, the cost would be $20,000 to hire an OPS editor to work with faculty and students to promote journalistic integrity and readership. My strong belief is that these initiatives will promote the college experience while providing showcases for students' creative work. Thank you for your consideration.
Yes, you were. I'm standing in for Sharon Griggs today, who's unable to be here. Sharon's initiative that she put in SharePoint was for an instructional assistant for mathematics for downtown. As many of you know, downtown just recently had their grand opening for their Learning Support Commons. It was a wonderful day. Dr. Campbell was there. She spoke with the students. We had standing room only, and we're very, very excited about the facility. But the facility can't do the work. We need assistance. We need instructional assistance. Right now, we're operating with OPS staff, and we have on loan very generously from the St. Pete Gibbs campus a writing tutor. So in my proposal, I had asked for a communications instructional assistant. Sharon is asking for one for mathematics. And we're standing here like bookends hoping to get a little help from our friends, right? So thank you very much.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to speak for some things for my area of responsibility. I am Sharon Setterlin, and I am the Dean of the College of Computer and Information Technology. I am going to speak to 3 initiatives. The first initiative is for a technology workforce liaison. Currently, we have an OPS position that is doing much of what I'm going to talk about here, and I would like to have this position moved into a full-time recognized position of the college. What this person has done for us since January of 2010 has created a dynamic connection to the workforce community. What has happened here is that this person has worked in workforce development, raising the level of awareness of our programs, which currently stand at 5 AS technology degree programs, 7 certificates, 1 BAS in technology management, and we are currently looking into some fast-track certificates to get people into training and back out into the work world and the workforce. Okay, some of the other things that this person has done has worked with our website. We have put up the new model website for the college. We currently have over 8,000 hits. This provides us with a college experience and for the student, allows the student to become informed, as well as it simplifies the process. We are continuing to work with outreach and forming partnerships. We currently have 79 partnerships with local workforce community employers. With also the opportunity has come our internship programs. We have put together an internship program that has currently put through over 100 students since summer of last year. We've placed 72, and we have 53% of our interns have been offered full-time positions. So we really know that this individual attention that's being given to the student as well as the employer is working for our programs. Also, to talk a little bit about this person's ability to have this connection with the Pinellas County workforce has also allowed us to have an 18-member advisory committee. We are working very hard with them, along with all the advising that they are giving to us on our curriculum, on developing our certificates, and the things we're trying to do for the workforce. We'd also like to be able to start working in an area of providing faculty and students professional opportunities for national organization technology groups. Something else I was going to say there and I can't remember, but that's all right. Okay. What I'd like you to know that this initiative that I did put together, the salary does include benefits. Also, I placed this under promote economic and workforce development, but it could be used for all the strategic goals that we are working towards. It can be under the college experience so that we're working with internships. It can be under the completion agenda because we really believe that by having this individual work with students as well as employers, we are moving our students through a completion of programs. It can also be learning support beyond the classrooms because what we're doing here is we're growing professional development for our faculty and also promoting economic workforce development. Again, we need to provide a higher quality and quantity of programs, and as Dr. Law has mentioned, SPC is being asked to expand and take a more proactive role in workforce development opportunities. Now I'd like to speak to two other initiatives, and I'd ask Dean Nenstill to join me at the College of Business. And we are looking into right now two positions. One would be a baccalaureate specialist, and another one would be a baccalaureate advisor, both for the College of Computer and Information Technology. What this position is being asked to do is to provide admissions, academic counseling for all prospective and current students. This would be for the upper and lower division. It would also have working with students through AS, certificate, BAS programs, and that would also, the advisor would also be working at an advisory capacity, college-wide advisory capacity. The baccalaureate position, we are asking if that could be resident at St. Pete Gibbs as we're trying to expand and grow our bachelor programs. I have asked Dean Nenstill to give you some data backing these requests.
When we broke the two colleges out from tech management back in September, we didn't realize the magnitude of the student population that we would have. And so I wanted to share some data this afternoon regarding what this population looks like in relationship to our advisors. Looking at our academic advisors right now, we have an advisor to student ratio of 1 to 512. The industry standard is 1 to 300. So we're almost double what the accepted standard is in college in terms of the number of advisors. Projecting what we would look like into next year. If we do nothing and assume a 5% increase, along with the AS student population that we have right now, our advisor to student ratio will be something like 1 to 1,000, slightly over 1 to 1,000. This is important because advisors establish a relationship with students. Not only do they advise them in terms of what they should take in the college and in the curriculum and where they should go with their careers, but they are also a source of communication between us and our customers. Students tend to, as they see them quite often, trust them. And what happens is this becomes an information channel from the students to the advisor to administrative people in the organization, and we determine a lot more information about our courses. We're able to continually improve our courses. We're able to make strides as a result of having advisors. We're asking for, as Sharon said, a baccalaureate specialist and a baccalaureate advisor. If we go with what we have now, it'll be 1 to 1,000. If we add these two positions, it will bring it down to 1 to 450. Now, 450 is a lot of students, but they do see a lot of people, and that is a lot of information. So what we're asking for is 2 baccalaureate advisors. Finally, if it gives me more success points, Dr. Law, I asked Jim Oliver at lunch if I could mention his name in this presentation, and he agreed, and so he said that it would be okay.
Thank you.
Our college prepares students for life. Our workforce classes prepare students for a job. And our paralegal studies program prepares students for a range of real jobs that actually exist right now, currently in this market. And since that's so, our enrollment has increased exponentially. I made Dr. Renard's list both for upper division class increases and lower division class increases. And so my first request is for an administrative assistant. And I should tell you that what we do in our program offices is we administer 3 ABA-approved programs, an AS degree program, a BAS program, and a post-baccalaureate certificate program. And while we're on the Clearwater campus, those classes are offered on 4 campuses: Gibbs, Health Education, Clearwater, and most recently, the downtown campus. I would love to add the Seminole campus. I would love to add the Tarpon Springs campus because currently I'm in negotiations with PHCC for an articulation agreement to add our 4-year to their 2-year degree. But to do that, it would require yet another ABA submission for each one of those campuses. So it is a huge reporting job just to maintain those programs. In addition to that, of course, we have the new public policy degree program, and we administer college-wide all the business law classes, both upper and lower division. And what that means is that there's just an awful lot of stress in that office. And I just want to say one thing, as someone who has been an administrative support educator for all these years. This strategic initiative is called the College Experience. There is no other person on a campus that directly affects the quality of a college experience than the departmental staff. They meet them before they figure out where the door is. They take the call. They help them with advising. They help them with enrollment. They talk to them about their teachers. They talk to them about their assignments. And they meet them at the exit. My assistant actually helps me throw the graduation reception all the way through. So I beg that as we look at these, no one will utter the phrase, just clerical. There's no such thing in a college. We are all direct delivery of student services. We are the student experience. My second request, I have very grandly entitled Community Relations Outreach. And I have asked for the princely sum of $500. Well, what I'm really here to do is open a conversation about something that we have left out over and over again over the past several years. I'm talking about hospitality funds. Every single one of us who have an advisory committee need to feed these people. We need the increased collegiality that you get from breaking bread. And in order to do that, you have to have a few pennies to pay for the coffee, to pay for the donuts, to pay for dinner. Now, I've asked for $500. Now you're thinking, this is some spread she's putting on for this advisory committee twice a year. So while I would say that one of the things that we need to think about is that every advisory committee have a little sum of money for the coffee and the donuts, whatever it's appropriate for your particular time of day, I'm going to use my community relations outreach for something a little bit more this particular year, and that's because the American Bar Association is coming for reapproval. And what I need to do is I need to put together a focus group of local employers. And so what I'd like to do is do a dinner, have those local employers come in. I'm going to gift them with 1 hour of continuing legal education, and my program will be how to effectively use a paralegal. So it's really marketing dollars, too, at the same time. And then at the close of that, we're going to do our employee, we'll find out what they're really looking for in an employee. I hope that that particular kind of approach would be something that we could grow. My accrediting body has lately said that that's fine instead of those questionnaires that nobody ever answers except my friends. Talk about skewed data. So I think I will get truer information, and I think we will also at the same time be building those community relations that are the essential part of making any workforce degree function. It's the little things that make the difference.
Good afternoon. I'm Barbara Grano. I'm the Program Director of the Applied Ethics Department. And I'm here to talk about two initiatives. The first one came up very recently, and I'm glad to present it to you, and that is about Academic Honesty Awareness Week. A cross-disciplinary team of professors and deans worked together to revise the Academic Honesty Code. That is going to be forwarded to the Board of Trustees for review and action. In conjunction with that, we would like to offer the opportunity to help our students understand what this code means. Let me tell you why this was personal for me. My very first semester here, which was last semester, I had an adjunct faculty member come to me because he was new at the job and he had a student who had plagiarized a paper. He said, "What should I do?" I said, "Well, what would you like to do?" He said, "I'd like the student to write a paper on plagiarism," which she did, and she plagiarized it. Now, in the Pinellas County Schools, one of the virtues is honesty, and we would like to continue that learning of honesty to host an academic honesty awareness week twice each semester. This idea came from our faculty and our deans who worked on the committee. I've talked with several people across the college. The hope would be professors would work together across disciplines to plan this, and the applied ethics would use the $5,000 to implement their ideas. So we're going to be facilitators for this process. The second initiative I want to discuss is changing our budget. Now, I'm going to be the first person here today, I think, to talk about funding, which isn't supposed to be part of today's dialogue, but I do have special permission to do that. And let me tell you about this. As you may or may not know, Applied Ethics is in the 6th edition of the book that they write called Ethics Applied. The royalties from this book have been accumulating, and last year, for the first time, some of those dollars were allocated. And under previously approved uses for ethics applied royalties, these dollars were used for SPD funds for ethics faculty, our Ethics Bowl teams who compete, and also to periodically host the Southeast Regional Ethics Bowl. I'm asking for a $1,000 increase in that budget of the allowed funds from the textbook funds in order to host the Ethics Bowl this coming year. It's usually a 3-year rotation because of some logistics problems with our partners at USF St. Petersburg and Petersburg College. They're unable to host this coming year, so we would like to help them through this and then go back to our 3-year rotation. The funding is also used for the Applied Ethics Institute and for the Keith Gorey Applied Ethics Lecture Series. And at this time, I'd like to take 1 minute to promote our very first Keith Gorey Applied Ethics Lecture Series, which will take place on Tuesday night at 7 p.m., hosting Gay Culverhouse, who will talk about ethics, integrity, and the dignity of the athlete. These flyers are available in the back of the room if you want to pick one up, and we'd love to see you there that night. The last thing is a periodic textbook revision. We've revised 6 times. We're going to have a very minor revision called 6.5 this coming year, which our faculty is donating their time to help with minor revisions. But in the year 2014, we are going to have our 7.0 edition revised and rewritten, and we need an addition of funds to do that. We had allocated $3,000 a year in anticipation of a rewrite. We would like to up that number to $5,000 in order to be effective in the rewrite in 2014, 2015. That's it. Thank you very much.
And I think we're right on time. 5 minutes ahead, in fact. So we'll take a short break, 15 minutes, so come on back and we'll finish up.